Got it. Hello, HR Basecampers. Coming to you today with this month's roundup, or at least one of two roundups that we're doing with you guys. If you didn't know, or is the first time you're watching one of the videos, we typically pick 3 questions that are being asked across our membership or our more than 20,000 HR base campers who are out there getting education. And this question I simplified. Do I have to accommodate an employee who is going through menopause? Which I think is a very, very good question. And it enables me to really talk about a kind of a different principle. But this gives me a jumping on point. If you read through the roundup and our guidance, there's really no what we call protections for someone who has menopause. Unless you're in a single state. I believe that state is Rhode Island, which just passed legislation which protects employees who are going through menopause. And by saying protect, what I mean is that employer have to make certain accommodations in order for that employer to be in compliance with that state law. The other thing that we explained in this short article or short answer to the roundup question is that even though some specific illness or something that's a temporary disability may not be protected under law, the offshoot of that disability, so some of the things that are become problems, become health issues, those can fall underneath some kind of disability protection. So one of the most common examples we've had in the past, and it's changed a little bit over the years, but it's a good example. If someone was overweight, maybe severely overweight, and you did not have to accommodate that particular, we'll just say, issue. However, a person who's overweight could have heart problems. They could have knee issues. They could have joint problems. And many of those things do fall underneath either a state or some federal law. So, you would call and say, do we have to accommodate overweight? Well, no, but what are the offshoots of that? And that's usually something that we'd have to deal with. So, look, the other jumping on point that I'm going to do here, it gives me an opportunity to kind of give you or a manager a little bit of lesson. I made some notes, so I'd make sure I cover everything. What happens when you have something like this come to your plate and you have to deal with it is I almost always want you to not ask, do I have to do this? Do I have to legally do it? That's coming. What I want you to do is I want you to think about something that we have described before. I'm going to do it again. It's called the interactive process. That interactive process is just basically saying, tell me more about what's going on. Now, that can expand, and I'm not going to get into a full lesson on that right now. However, what you are is a fact-gathering mission, and you're going to find out what the impact is. Are they seeing a doctor about it? Is this just something that they've self-diagnosed? What kind of accommodation they're asking for? And getting into the interactive process walks both of you down that line together. And there are some inherent, in my experience of doing this for more than 30 years, there are some inherent advantages into entering into that interactive process. And you would be surprised at how many times it actually resolves itself while the process is going on. By resolving itself, they may need to go to a doctor and talk to a doctor as part of this process and come back to you with a list of accommodations. And if those sets of accommodations basically telegraph, I can't do my job anymore. I can't stand, and I need to stand for my job. I can no longer work with my hands intricately for 5 or 6 hours a day as I work on a patient. That might be an indicator that they can no longer do their job anymore. So no accommodation says that an employee has to be repositioned or they can just, not do their job. So that's the first part, is sometimes the interactive process in a very positive way actually helps the problem to resolve itself. Enough comes to light. On the other end of that spectrum, maybe they come back and the one thing they're asking for is so simple for you to do. It's a small adjustment that you're like, sure, yeah, we can help you with that. That's not a problem at all. Let's change something. And then the next thing is that, and I kind of covered it, that process gives you very valuable information that you can use and that you have documented. And it also shifts the burden over to the employee and their physician, in many cases, to document whether this employee, as I said before, can do the job or not. So the last point I want to make, and I'll let you get back to work, is today's roundup and this question specifically about menopause and my answer that there is only one state that officially covers it really highlights the fact that there are state laws and federal laws in different circumstances that impact how we would answer a question like this. So on an individual basis, that is the advantage to working with us, is that no matter whether or not you think you know the answer to this or you've got this covered or you understand, you always get in touch with us. You call CEDR first as a member, and we kind of walk you through this, and we can come to consensus with you. We can really help you figure out which direction you're supposed to go. And most importantly, we have the methods and the means to quickly identify from your fact pattern and from the process you're going through whether or not there is actually a state law or some tangential issue which requires you to follow some procedure that you may not have been aware of before. Hope that this little side lesson helps. Hope you guys enjoy the roundup. You'll notice in this roundup, we have a conversation going on about one employee threatening to kill another employee by pointing a gun at them. We found that story very interesting. We're going to expand on that and do a podcast on it soon. Again, I hope you guys have a great day. Hope you found this helpful.